Sabah everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about the brand new OPPO Reno 4. We're going to talk about the ColorOS 7.2 update that this device is featuring as one of the first devices to actually carry it. We're also going to talk about some of the cool things that the OPPO Reno 4 has that the Reno 4 Pro does not. So we're definitely going to cover a lot of things in this video. Buckle up, hit that like button, and of course, thank you very much for checking out the video and of course sharing it with all your friends. This is TK and this is the OPPO Reno 4. Like and subscribe and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So this is the OPPO Reno 4. Again, two versions of this device were announced at the same time. There's the Reno 4 and the Reno 4 Pro. A few aesthetical differences. The Reno 4 is slightly smaller than the Reno 4 Pro by barely even an inch. So this is a 6.4 inch display that we have here. It's a full HD AMOLED display. It's a flat display as well, so there is no curvature. That's one thing that's unique between this and the Reno 4 Pro. And of course, what we have here is a quad camera setup on the back, a dual camera setup on the front, which is also unique to what we have, as the Reno Pro only has a single camera on the front, but a definitely 4 quad camera setup in the back. The actual material on the back is very unique and it's a new material. There's going to be two different colors, the blue, which is the one that we have here, and of course there's going to be the other one, which is called the space black. Now, the material that we have here is a little bit more grippy, less prone to fingerprints, but may not necessarily be prone to smudges. But overall, the experience here is that even if you're using this device without a case, you're not going to have any problem, as it actually has good grip material on the back as well as on the sides. Now, even though the display is flat, the actual device on the back has a small curvature. And of course, we have that triple camera setup that's bumping up on top. And of course, the last one here is that mono camera that we have. It's a 2 megapixel sensor. So let's talk a little bit about the actual sensors on the back. So the main sensor is going to be a 48 megapixel sensor. That's going to be the middle one over here. And that's going to be running at f1.7. And of course, then we have an 8 megapixel ultra wide, a 2 megapixel, basically a macro lens, and a 2 megapixel mono lens with a dual tone LED flash. No wireless charging, but the battery that we have here is a 4,000 milliamp battery that is supported with the brand new charging technology from OPPO, and this is going to be the VOOC 4.0. So essentially, giving us the ability of charging this device from zero over 50% in about 20 minutes and 100% in about 54 to 57 minutes, which is definitely very fast. Keeping in mind that, of course, it's going to be using this proprietary charger directly made by OPPO. The Reno 4 will have a 30-watt charger. The Reno 4 Pro will have a 65-watt charger that can charge the actual Reno 4 Pro in literally 36 minutes from 0 to 100%, while keeping the battery health really good for us. On the front, we have two sensors, a 32 megapixel sensor that's going to be the primary front-facing shooter, and a motion sensor, which is definitely very unique. And as you can see right here, I have it connected over on T-Mobile here in the US. Although this model is not intended for the US, so just make sure that if you do pick up one for the US, that it actually works well for you in the area that you're in. The wallpaper that you'll notice right away is something that is very unique, that is also part of ColorOS 7.2. We'll start talking about some of those really cool features. So this actually has a curvature of the moon, and it actually uses the accelerometer on the phone to adjust to wherever I am. So I'll go ahead and unlock the device. In-display fingerprint sensor, as we talked about it before, and you can see right there it actually permeates and it looks really cool. So definitely a live wallpaper you want to use. Now, as we talked about it at the beginning, we have a 6.4 full HD display. This is going to be the display that's running here, and this one is running at 60 Hertz. The Reno 4 Pro will be running the 90 Hertz version of it. So those are some of the differences that you'll look at. A slightly bigger display with one camera and of course 90 Hertz and curves on the sides on both the front and the back. On the left, we have access to the Google feed. That's part of the new optimizations that we see with ColorOS 7.2. We have an app drawer access, so we can access all of our applications, and of course, native Android 10.0 gestures, as this is based on Android 10.0. The Google Play Store is preloaded, no need to sideload anything. And we have a few things that are new here, specifically the Soul Loop as well as the OPPO Lab, and we'll talk about those. And those are, again, specifically to ColorOS 7.2. Game space is here, same thing that we've had in the past. We can load up our applications, games, and so on. And of course, we can customize our experience by either going by balanced modes, competitive mode, or low power mode. Now, I haven't mentioned the CPU yet. This is the Snapdragon 720G, the gaming processor. Now, it is the 7 series, but it is on the more of the entry level. So 720 is what we're getting here. And it should be able to handle most gaming experiences quite well. Unfortunately, not exactly as good as the 865, but this is definitely, keep in mind, intended to be about roughly $385 literally unlocked with dual SIM as well as micro SD card support. Now, when we talk about the cameras, which is one of the main things that we definitely appreciate about the Reno line of devices, there's a few things we need to cover. There's a lot of new things that are in here that are very unique to the camera. First and foremost is the ability of using some of those new AI modes. So you'll notice there's a macro camera that jumps in. That's a 2 megapixel sensor camera, and I'll definitely show you guys some videos and examples of obviously the video with the front facing and the back facing sensor. What I definitely want to focus for you guys is the ability of having stabilized front-facing video as well as back-facing video, but we have now a new mode on the back. So there's the ultra steady, which is typical, that crops the sensor in and gives us a video or a view that is slightly smaller than what we normally use, so that way it can give us that stabilization. But pop over to the Pro. So this is the Ultra Steady Pro, that new version that we have here, and it actually jumps back into a slightly wider angle view, so giving us a little bit more field of view to be able to fit into the stabilized video on the back sensors. Now, if we switch over to the front-facing sensor, we also still have front-facing sensor stabilization, and that gives us the ability of having stabilized selfie video on this device out of the box without any issues. Of course, we have night mode. This is something that we've known from OPPO in the past. We have access to 4 lenses, so we have the wide-angle lens that's actually a sensor here. That's the 8 megapixel sensor. Standard telephone, basically the main sensor, that's the 48 megapixel sensor. And we also have tripod mode here in case you want to do extended exposures. Now, the 2 times as well as the 5 times are digital zoom, so just keep in mind the experience will change as you get with more zoom on here. As far as actual video, let's go ahead and jump over here. Access to the actual sensors and what the capabilities are pretty simple. So we can jump in here. Video resolution maximum is going to be 4K and 30 frames per second. So that's going to be the main sensor on the back. And of course, if we want to be able to switch over to the back, to the front-facing sensor, let's go ahead and switch over to the front. And here, video resolution at maximum will be 1080p 30. So even though we have a 32 megapixel sensor, unfortunately 30 frames per second is the max. But we do have back-facing sensor 960 frames per second slow motion, which is also some of the really cool things I'll share with you guys in a second. Photography, pretty much straightforward. Portrait also has a few little tricks here that we can actually use, which essentially is the AI color. So if I swipe over all the way to the right, we'll notice there's a couple of options here. First is the ability of doing portrait color retention, which means it keeps the color of the primary subject and puts everything in the background. It blurs it out, but it also makes it into a black and white image, as I'm showing you guys real quick right there with that quick selfie that I took in portrait mode. We have also an additional mode that's available on the back sensor, which essentially gives us the ability of blurring, and not only that, adding that nice little filter of making everything bubble up as far as colors in the background. So this looks really nice, but again, only available on the back-facing sensor. If we switch it to the front-facing sensor, we do have the portrait color retention, but we don't have that extra function. And I think that's due to the fact that we only have one sensor here. The second sensor is actually a motion sensor. So before we talk about that motion sensor, let's go ahead and talk about all the cool things as far as video. So let me show you guys some samples on the cameras on the front as well as on the back. We'll start off with the Ultra Steady. Now this is standard stabilization. Just turn it on and it stabilizes the video. Crops the view a little bit, and then it gives us the ability of doing a video like this, stabilized and not having to worry about any kind of gimbal kind of setup. Let's go ahead and turn on Ultra Steady mode. Now I'm pretty sure the first thing you're going to notice is the ability of actually using a wider field of view. Stabilized video, wider view on the brand new Reno 4. Definitely very cool, and of course very nice for video, especially when you're wanting to use the back sensor but don't want to actually have that cropped view. One of the really cool modes that we have here is the ability of isolating the subject in the video. There's also a couple of other modes where you're able to isolate certain colors in the video, like blue, green, and red. This one just isolates the subject the way it's doing it to me, puts me in color and puts everything behind me. Even though it's supposed to be green, it turns it into basically black and white. Really cool way of isolating the subject, and of course providing that more of an intimate view directly into that video. As you can see, it looks really good, and definitely having that super ultra steady, the ability to go in slightly wider field of view is always appreciated on any device that we use. One of the other cool features that we have here that is really unique is the ability of using the front-facing camera to actually almost hide your notification from other people if they're not you. The example would be here. I just go ahead and roll down my notification. You'll notice there's 4 notifications. There's the Google, Twitter, App Market, as well as Instagram, but we have no idea what they are. And that's because the camera on the front does not see me. I already have it registered to do face unlock, so let's go ahead and unlock. So you notice right there, it actually recognizes this like a little option, opens it up, and I can swipe up and of course recognizes me on the device. We have also the ability of using the fingerprint sensor that does the exact same thing. But if I bring down my notification and I don't have my face in front of it with this option turned on, it doesn't show them. So let's go ahead and bring out, I'm looking at it, and you can see right there the notification, all of them open up and you can actually see what they are. I've moved my face away and it suddenly goes away. This is absolutely fantastic. You hand your phone over to a friend or somebody else, and you don't want them to be able to see those notifications. They can't. It just literally looks like this, and there's nothing they could do about it. Now, of course, definitely the best thing in the situation is to obviously swipe them away, but if you do forget and something does come in, it will not jump in front of them, especially for sensitive information, if you're getting text messages from a loved one or personal information there. So definitely a really cool feature there. There's a few other options that they have here, which essentially is the AI options of keeping the screen on if you're looking at it, and as well as the actual orientation of the screen if your face tilts over. So if, let's say, you're laying in bed and you're watching your device, it'll actually keep the screen on and also make sure that the orientation is facing correctly to your face. So those are a couple of cool things. But let's go ahead and talk about that secondary sensor that's present at the top. Let's go ahead and open up Instagram. And I am going to go ahead and put my phone down, and I will go ahead and start controlling it without touching it. So first and foremost, we'll go ahead and put my hand in front of it. You'll notice there's a little hand that's present right there that's actually mimicking my hand. So now I can actually start doing swiping gestures to be able to swipe the phone. So I can actually keep swiping. Now to change gestures, I do need to move my hand, and I bring it in with an open palm. It'll recognize it right there, notice. And at this point, I can actually start swiping down and going up in the gestures. Now, it doesn't have to be all fingers. It can just actually be just 2 fingers, and it works really well. You can't switch between one and the other without necessarily having it there. And this, of course, works with TikTok. So let's go ahead and just bring it in. And you can see right there the arm, and I can start just flipping over and, of course, changing the different TikToks. And, of course, I can jump out, bring in my hand, recognizes the top gesture, and I can actually start swiping backwards and going back in the actual UI. Very nice, very unique. So a lot of cool things specifically in here. But the main thing I want to keep in mind is that spying mode is definitely very, very nice. The ability of opening up my notification panel and not have anything open up, again, unless I'm looking at it, so you can kind of see it right there. Once I look at my device, it recognizes all the options, and of course, once I bring it back to you guys, it goes away. I have not seen this feature on a smartphone in literally maybe 4 years, and definitely appreciate having it here. As far as ColorOS 7.2, as I mentioned to you guys, it's actually pretty nice and very smooth and very easy to configure. There's a lot of options that we are able to. Obviously, you can log in with your OPPO ID, you can customize different things, and notification, those gestures that I mentioned to you guys, as well as the camera modes that we talked about here. And as you guys saw, definitely appreciate having that super ultra steady mode. Now, one of the new things that they did bring in here is the OPPO Labs, which gives us the ability of actually customizing our own ringtones. So there's the Lab ringtone, and of course there's the Decision Spinner. The Decision Spinner is literally just kind of spin the bottle on an app on a phone, and you can actually customize it to the way that you want to use it. I really like the fact that I can actually just turn it on and allow it to basically spin. And as you can see right there, I actually did program it, but this was pure luck. It says, "Tell TK we love you." So make sure you hit that or smash that like button, subscribe, and make sure you hit that, and make sure you say that you like me down in the comments. I'll try to respond to every single one of you guys. But this was one of the cool things that you can do, and again, you can customize. The ringtone option is really cool. I did lower the volume mostly just because I want to share with you guys a couple of things that you need to be aware of. So you notice right there's a couple of options. So there's the thrilling, the vibrant, the relaxing, slow, fast, and of course simple. This little dot enables us to actually shift between the different moods of the actual tone. So there's a couple of ringtones preloaded in here, but you can customize it to the mood that you're in. You can play the same song with a fast tempo, slow tempo, relaxing, more an option. So we'll go ahead and play it up. And you can see there's two options. There's summer and vision. And of course, you can actually save a few options. So let's go ahead and bring up the volume. These are the two that I did them, and you can definitely enjoy them. And then there's one. As I mentioned, you can actually customize them. So the vision one is the one I personally prefer, so we'll go ahead and customize. So personally, that's the ringtone that I'm using on the device, and it really works very nicely. So keep that in mind. The other thing I definitely want to mention to you guys, and I kind of went through some of the stuff at the beginning, is that we have a volume rocker, a dual SIM card, as well as an SD card option here that we're able to expand the memory on it. We have a microphone at the top. On the right, we just have basically a power button. On the bottom, we have a bottom firing speaker, sadly mono speaker, no stereo speakers on this. We have a headphone jack that's present here that's very nice, a secondary microphone, and a USB-C charging port. What I do want to share with you guys is, of course, the ability of actually using some of those options to be able to enjoy the content on here. So we definitely have Dolby Atmos here as far as audio configuration to support our audio. So if we jump into the settings tab And of course I can jump into sound. We can see right there the Dolby Atmos option. We can configure it for smart, which is essentially the auto mode, movie, gaming, or music, and it'll work directly with the headphone jack or over Bluetooth, of course, if you're watching content. It is certified to work with HD content here directly, so you can see right there the Umbrella Academy just came out. So I can go ahead and click the option, and we have the Season 2 in HD available directly on the Reno 4. Again, this is the global variant, so you should be able to enjoy this almost anywhere. The last app I want to talk about is Soloop, which is essentially an auto editor that they have that really creates some really cool features, videos. So if you go to with the family, you take pictures like we were at the beach here, it takes all those images or a sample part of those images and creates like a quick video that you're able to share online. So let's go ahead and play this one. And this is a quick sample video. Essentially what it tries to do, it takes a few sets of clips and videos that you've taken from a certain specific day, combines them to music, and of course that's an auto edit option. You are able to go in and customize different ones. You can do an auto generated or an edit manually. So you edit manually, can go in, select the images that you want, and of course change the music, change the edit loop, all of those things. And it will definitely be included in ColorOS 7.2. Hopefully OPPO Lab will receive a few more options. Right now only has is basically the decision spinner as well as the lab ringtone, which is again very, very cool. I would definitely be able to customize more songs as much as possible. One of the other cool things that comes with ColorOS 7.2 is the ability of actually shrinking the icons to making it more functional in one-handed mode. And what that means essentially is with the one swipe on the left, I can actually swipe down and open up any icon from the screen. So right here, if I want to go to the Google Play Store, it'll open it up really nicely. I can do the exact same thing, and if I want to be able to jump over to here, we can definitely do it really nicely. So keep in mind, Umbrella Academy started today, HD available on Netflix. And of course we have that side launcher that has always been there, and of course works really nice. You can add different shortcuts, applications, split screen, all the cool things, as well as even screenshot directly within the ColorOS. One thing that I didn't get a chance to mention to you guys is, even though we have a 4,000 milliamp battery on this device, it actually feels quite light. And even my son said the same thing. For some reason, for a 4,000 milliamp battery, the shape and the size of the device actually makes it so that it actually doesn't feel very heavy. We have really fast charging on this, again, over 50% in 20 minutes. You're never going to have to worry about battery life. And for me right now with battery life in the US, since I don't have 5G on this is not the 5G variant, battery life was actually really good for me. So overall, depends on the experience of where you are and the carrier that you're with. The Reno 4 and the Reno 4 Pro officially became available in the global market as of today, so hopefully you guys checked out the launch event. ColorOS 7.2 is officially relaunching with this series of devices and will be rolling out to more devices. In the past, I did a video on the OPPO Find X2, and that was running Android 11 beta, but they coded it as 7.2, so that wasn't really 7.2. This is actually featuring a lot of the cool things in there. Also, there was one additional feature that was part of ColorOS 7.2 that I was not able to demo for you guys, and that's the ability of using the bubble return option. And that's a function that they added in there that mentions, essentially, is that whenever you play in a game, let's say PUBG, and you're waiting in that waiting area, waiting for the match to start, but you get an email and you want to be able to respond to that. You jump out of PUBG, PUBG becomes into a small bubble with a timer on it, telling you how many more seconds is basically before the match starts. And then while you're doing your editing, your email or so on, taking care of that, and you can actually just send the email and not miss a beat within the game. So I'm looking forward to checking that out once that becomes available, and I'll maybe do a little bit more of a gaming video, specifically when it comes to the Reno 4. So thank you very much to OPPO for allowing me to check out the Reno 4, and of course talking about all the cool things coming in with ColorOS 7.2. I am so excited to be able to see all those things, and of course coming to more devices, and of course what we can get from the Android 11 update that we will see. Hopefully another update gets dropped on the Find X2 Pro, and I will do another video for you guys. Like and subscribe as usual. Let me know, of course, in the comments below, what do you think of the brand new Reno 4 and the Reno 4 Pro, and of course I'll see you guys in the next video.